Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GEEKBEACH. The GEEKBEACH? The GEEKBEACH. I can't believe I messed up the beginning there, but you can edit because it's live. We're starting on Tuesdays now. I figured this might work better for some people. Saturday night's a weird time to go live because who's really going to be available on a Saturday night? And I want to do other stuff on Saturday night. So, yeah, let's try it on Tuesday, right there in the middle of the week somehow. Perfect timing to talk about a comic book live show when the comic books come out the next day. But, it's neither here nor there. It's just something I've decided to do. So, Tuesdays from now on, around this time, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, depending on how things go, we're going to be doing the Geek Beach. We're just going to sit back, relax, talk about the week that was geekdom. And guess what? For the first time doing this show, I actually have notes written to talk about topics. Instead of just rambling off, I've broken it down into sections of how I want to talk about stuff. So for the perceivable future, I actually know what I'm going to be doing, which is amazing. I didn't think I'd do that, but here we are. We're talking about stuff. Like every week, I do like to open things up and look at some of the toys and action figures and collectibles I bought. It's a slow week for me, but I did manage to pick up one thing here. The retro-carded Marvel Legends Black Widow. Now, this is, Wave 5, I think? Is this Wave 5? This is the one that also has Symbiote Spider-Man, The Thing, and Thor in it, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't normally collect this scale, but it's vintage carded. It looks gorgeous. It looks really cool. I've thought about getting the whole wave, but I was like, I'm just going to scale back a bit and just kind of see where they're going with this. I think the earlier waves don't look as good as the new stuff they're doing for this. I think the reason I went with Black Widow was solely because of the packaging art. Something about this packaging art really spoke to me. I think it's just because of the black in it that really pops in contrast to some of like the grays and blues they're using for like the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Seeing the black really made it pop. So I like it. I do keep these carded. I have, I think, about 15 of them now. There's at least 30 of them. I probably got about half. I don't know which ones I want to buy, though. I think I'm just going to stick to, like, the heroes. But I'm like, I should get Magneto and I should get Loki. And then, I should get Venom when he comes out. But I don't know. It's still a line I'm interested in, so I can't wait to see it grow. And the next wave they're doing, the next wave of these Marvel Legends, it's going to have Moon Knight. And I know I have to buy that. So that's exciting. It's a fun line. I like it. It's not displayed in this room, so you can't see it there. But I will post it on social media for anybody who's interested in seeing the rest of what these are. They're really cool, and I like it. And I do kind of like this Black Widow. Again, it's like you can't really use real weapons. So she's got a weird crossbow thing. Kind of like, you can see like where the packaging is right there. You see that Scarlet from the G.I. Joe Classifieds. Kind of like her gun, a crossbow that doesn't look like a real weapon. But I get it. You have to fake it till you make it. So that's fine. I think we're going to talk about news first. I think that's where we're going to start talking about some stuff. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. I was hesitant to really get into this, I should say, because of the current climate of the world. I'm like, should I really touch upon certain issues? So I'm going to do my best to avoid certain things. Well, we're going to talk about a little bit of like just the geek news that came out. The first thing I really want to talk about, because it astonishes me in today's climate how we don't have closed sets. I love it because the Barbie movie is currently filming. It's got Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and I don't think I've ever been this excited for a film in a long time, and solely because of the promotionals they've released of both of those characters, and also because of the set leaks. Again, this is, I guess, a semi-big property people know in terms of like film, so I'm amazed it's not a closed set where anybody can just take a picture of everything, because all of the leaked pictures you see for Barbie, they show the people in the background taking the picture. So there's probably countless photos from the set of Barbie, which amazes me that, again, it's semi-big blockbuster. They're not closing this set. But because of that, we have a lot of just leaked photos from the set. They're all great. Everything about the Barbie movie, I think, is genuinely impressing me, right down to the costume choices, which is just perfectly the doll. That's amazing. I didn't think they would nail it so perfectly, but like the cowboy outfits for them, they look great. The denim outfit for Gosling, perfect. The one in the rollerblades, the disco-looking fluorescent colors, ooh, that's beautiful. I love it. America Ferrera is in there too. She's in some of the leaked photos we see. She looks like was she one of the ones that they confirmed was also a Barbie? Because I know they revealed a bunch of people, like Issa Rae is going to be in this, and she's going to be another version of Barbie. I know Simu Liu is going to be another version of Ken. I wonder if America's going to be one of the other versions of Barbie, because if she's not, my current theory from everything we've seen leaked is that it's like Ted. I'm getting the sense, I was like, okay, it's kind of like the Smurfs movie where they come to the real world. Currently, I'm of two thoughts with the Barbie movie. Here's my theories for what we know so far. First off, it's like the movie Ted, where I think America Ferrera is going to like wish Barbie alive, and then all of the Barbie adjacent characters are going to come to life, and she's going to have to like get her groove back with Barbie. That's kind of what I'm thinking it's going to be. But again, she could be another Barbie, so I don't know. My other thing here is America is a Barbie, and she's in a world where she doesn't know she's a Barbie. So like it's like Crisis on Infinite Barbies, where all these other versions of Barbie can, and Kelly and Skipper. Kipper? Is she one named Kipper or something? All the other like Barbie adjacent characters have to come together to protect this world that doesn't know it's a Barbie world. Life in Plastic's fantastic, isn't it? That's my current theory. I just love seeing these set pictures. They look amazing. They are so fun. Just seeing everybody having a good time for Barbie is awesome. Greta Gerwig wearing that pink jumpsuit is just perfectly Greta Gerwig, like when she did Lady Bird in the prom dress. I love Greta Gerwig. She is probably one of my favorite directors out right now. And I hope this gives her more opportunities to do bigger and better shit, because I would love to see her lead a franchise. And of course, Barbie is technically a franchise, so cool. I love that she's doing it. I think that's great. This has turned out to be awesome. Every single set leak is fantastic. Every single scene we've seen makes me happy. I cannot wait for Barbie. I didn't think I would say that. And also something I'm very excited for, and the trailer dropped today actually, Harley Quinn Season 3. My goodness, it feels like it's been forever since the show came out, because the first two seasons were back-to-back. It had the 26-episode order, but it's back. The reviews were in. People are clamoring for more Harley Quinn. The creatives are back. In the perfect time, I think, to release this, because that trailer it was so funny. I think my favorite shot of the trailer was just the subtle hint, because remember they tried to do this joke earlier where Batman is going to, maybe go down on Catwoman, and remember Warner Bros. Is like, no, Batman doesn't do that. Heroes don't do that. Looks like this season Batman might actually do that, and you just see he's trying to keep Catwoman entertained, and she couldn't give a shit about what he's doing to her, and I'm like, that is perfect self-aware comedy for a show about self-aware comedy. You know what else is self-aware? James Gunn is in this. In a great scene where Clayface turns into a chair and gets James Gunn to sit on him, and he starts to vibrate. My goodness. That's great. I love that James Gunn's like, yeah, I'll be a part of the DC universe now. I'll do it. I'll jump in there and be happy. Like, that's great. That's so funny. James Gunn, please sit on me. That is such a good line for the trailer. I love it. And they referenced the Eat, Bang, Kill tour, which is the comic book that came out after season 2 with Harley and Ivy just going around eating, banging, and killing. Great book. Great that they're referencing it. This show is not shying away from the fact that they're a couple now. Good on it. Perfect timing. I think I get the sense that it should have been released in Pride Month, but I understand why it was probably pushed back, because the animation looks way more fluid this season. My goodness, I really like the way it's looking. And Swamp Thing, for some reason, showed up in here. I'm like, really? Swamp Thing? Was that Nora Freeze or Abby Arcane? I couldn't tell. But I think it's going to be Nora. It's because they're going to be like, wow, Nora, you got a type of really messed up guys who ruin their bodies for the sake of science. Yeah, that'd be funny. Swamp Thing and Harley Quinn, that is amazing. We don't see Dr. Psycho, which I completely understand. You kind of ran that joke into the ground, so going back there, I get it. You don't really need to go back there and do anything with it. But man, was that fun. I'm loving this show, so we're definitely going to be talking about it on the Geek Beach. I don't know if I'll be doing reviews for it. I have a couple of shows in mind I do want to do reviews for now that Superman and Lois ended tonight. I haven't watched it yet. I do know what happens with Clark in it. I'm not going to say what that is, but I talked about it in the last review. Awesome. It's just very fun. Harley Quinn looks fantastic. Can't wait to see that. Just glad to see these people still working hard on a show like this. We need more stuff like this. I really wish Disney Plus would let Marvel kind of branch out with its characters and just be like, nah, it doesn't have to be in the MCU. Because I would really like for them to do this kind of a story, like this adult animated story with Janet Van Dyne in the 70s, where she's like an up-and-coming hero, but she's also a fashion designer. I think you could do a great She-Hulk story with this. It doesn't have to be Deadpool. I know people will jump to Deadpool right away. There's so many fun characters you could do this with, and I wish Marvel would do that or try to do that, because they don't have anything comparing to Harley Quinn. What If doesn't compare to this. I know they both got Lake Bell, but it doesn't compare to this. It's brilliant. It's amazing. Now we got one more piece of news here. That's not really a piece of news. It's something I just need to bring up because it's near and dear to my heart. The Glastonbury Festival was on this week. I don't really care about festivals, but something happened at the festival that was worth noting. And if you've watched this channel long enough, because I've talked about it a few times, I am a fan of Lorde. She is probably in my top 3 favorite artists of all time. She debuted her blonde hair on stage, and I'm like, okay, I was not expecting this to happen. But okay, like Solar Power was a really interesting album that I was kind of impressed that she made, because it's so different than melodrama and so different than pure heroine. But I like that she made it. Now she's really embracing the Solar Power look with the blonde hair. I just had to bring it up because I like Lorde. That was something that just was like, okay, cool. What else you got? She sang Stone at the Nail Salon. It was really fun. Cool. That was great. I think she's going on tour as well soon. I think I saw that somewhere. There's the Lorde Updates Twitter that talked about like she's going to a concert soon. So yes, Blonde Lorde. Yes, I had to talk about it because it just, yeah, that's for me. That one's for me. This next one's for you. Obi-Wan Kenoboys is back on the menu. The last time ever on this channel we'll probably be doing Obi-Wan Kenoboys because it's the finale of Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi has reached its finale in a very satisfying way. I liked the first season. I say first season. I liked the show. There are some hesitations I had of it where I think it tried too hard to do certain things and didn't try hard enough to do others. But this finale really did good stuff. It was fan servicey in the right ways, but also really just built in this narrative that Obi-Wan can heal now, which is something they really needed to do because this whole season he's been world weary, just looking at the things he thinks he did to everything. And it really hammers it home into like a beautiful piece of writing where Anakin essentially breaks through the Vader persona and just tells him, I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. I killed Anakin. I think that's brilliant. And I'm like, yeah, now you can actually let him focus on healing Leia and Luke. You can focus on that story, get him to where he needs to be for A New Hope. And that's a really cool thing to see. That end fight scene was really great. I know some people have some complaints with the new lightsaber technology. I think it looks really good because it's very just clear. The colors we're using, we can actually have like the reflective blues and reds combat each other. And that looks really nice. That was really cool to see. I love the idea of what happened to Reva at the end. I wasn't expecting her to go that way, but she essentially becomes Vader in her last moment. She's defeated by Anakin again, turns to the side that she didn't want to become, and essentially becomes her own Darth Vader. And right before she's going to kill Luke, and Luke never sees her or a lightsaber, which I'm like, good, that stays to canon, she realizes who she's become, and she stops. And I'm like, wow, that's subtly brilliant. That's actually doing something impressive. I don't think a lot of people were expecting for this character. Because let's face it, nobody was expecting anything from this character, and nobody knew what they were going to get from her. That was really cool to see and made me really happy. Owen and Beru being badasses, holy shit, about time. Kind of makes you wonder if they put up a huge fight in A New Hope before the Stormtroopers killed them. Awesome. That was really cool. Man, Joel Edgerton is just the best. Why isn't he doing more? Is he the one from Avatar? No, that's Sam Worthington. What happened to him? There's those guys, Sam Worthington, Taylor Kitsch, you know, John Carter, Garrett Hedlund, and Joel Edgerton. You're like, these guys are solid. What happened to them? I know Garrett was just in Reservation Dogs, but like, what happened to these guys? Why aren't they doing more? Maybe we'll get more. Avatar 2 is still coming out, so Sam will at least get more. Maybe Joel's going to get more work now. Maybe a season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi will see Joel doing more. But cool. That was really fun to see. I love the end scene where Obi-Wan gets to meet Luke, and he's just like, hello there. Perfect. You had to have that come up. It's the first line you see him say to Luke in A New Hope. So I'm like, yep, that was important. You had to have that in there. Everyone was expecting it at some point. That worked really well. Qui-Gon appeared. Yes, it's been a week. If there's spoilers, you get it already. You've seen it. Liam Neeson even talked about it already. He's like, no one's touching this character but me because I love George Lucas. I'm like, he has nothing to do with this, bruv, but yes, you do you, buddy. You're doing great. You're sticking true to Qui-Gon for some reason. I guess he's also voicing Qui-Gon in the new Tales of the Jedi show, so it makes sense he'd come back. They probably just did the same studio shit that day and said, just put on the robes and stand here for a second while you're recording this other dialogue. I bet you his son was on set too, because his son's doing the young Qui-Gon stuff. Cool. It was just really solid. Obi-Wan Kenobi managed to impress me with how smart it was. It's still a simple story, but it's like, now we can actually fill in small details, like how Vader gets his scar in Return of the Jedi. That's because Obi-Wan went on his head. Cool. Like, that doesn't destroy canon or anything. Luke is hunted by a Jedi killer, but it doesn't see the lightsaber or Reva. That doesn't destroy canon. Makes sense since she's still alive. The Grand Inquisitor's still alive, so we know where his story's going to go in Rebels. I'm like, this is all working. You're all building your own canon again. I'm liking it. You're doing great work. It's making sense. It's staying strong. I am very much impressed with that. And from there, we go to another show that very much impressed me, which was The Boys this week. And this was the infamous Hero-gasm episode. Since last season, Kripke's been teasing. He's like, this is the one, all the sensors are going to explode. We can't show you any footage. It's going to be the most baller thing on television. Just dicks all around. Just it's like going to be the most extravagant orgy you've ever seen on screen. It's not, Eric. I've seen better in Westworld. And I guess Westworld came back this week too, but I didn't watch it because there's so much other shit I had to watch. So the Hero-gasm episode, it was good. I don't think because of the Hero-gasm stuff, that kind of fell flat for me where I'm like, come on, if you're telling me this is going to up the ante, let's see you up the ante. We just have standard shots of just like background orgy party, which is fine. That I get that. You have people with powers. Let's see those powers doing weird stuff instead of just like, hovering a dildo away from someone. Like, that's not fun. Mother's Milk does get a bunch of Mother's Milk on him. I guess that's fun, but I'm like, come on, that's it. We didn't even see what happened there. Let's push those sensors to the top. If Euphoria can give us some weird shit, why can't you? You're built to do this stuff, man. Let's go. Let's get weird with it. But that wasn't the stuff about this episode that really worked. It's just the downfall of the team of the boys. Like, everybody is slowly just descending further and further into themselves where they're going to eventually struggle to recover. And this is where I'm like, you keep doing this story, okay, with like Butcher and Huey and Soldier Boy and Frenchie and Kamiko. You can't really sustain that, I should say, for another like 3 years because you have to end that at some point. And I think season 4 will be their final season or their penultimate season because you can't sustain that anymore. You're getting too far removed from Huey to be a likable character that we're not going to buy his redemption story. And I think that's an interesting thing this show has really done. It's that it shows you like the trajectory that Huey is becoming the person Homelander is. Where now that he has power, he's able to essentially be the person he was fighting against from the beginning. Now that he has power, he's like, I'm going to go attack A-Train. I'm going to go beat the shit out of Homelander. I don't care. I'm just going to go do it. Because he was afraid and now he's not. And I love just like the change of pace from Huey being this guy that's like, this is wrong, these people are bad. And so now he's just, I have the power, this is wrong. You juxtapose that with what A-Train's doing where he's like, I had the power, I could do anything, now I don't, now I realize I was wrong. And just the way Huey's trying to be like, no dude, you can't just stop. You learned a lesson? You can't just learn a lesson. But he did. A-Train learned a lesson. And now look, he got his comeuppance and A-Train is probably dead, which I get. What else could you do with that character? A-Train's character was pretty much like destined to fall. He can't really sustain it. You have a ticking time bomb in his chest, literally. So you'd have to build it up in a big way. And just giving a guy like a serious road burn Oh, that was great. That looked good too. Like, my goodness, it's nice to see some good speedster effects on television because, the Flash doesn't have it. Oh, that was great. And then again, of course, the end fight. You have to respect the end fight for literally being so important and just feeling like we earned this. This was a deserved fight. And just seeing Homelander freaking out that he can't win, that he runs away like a baby. I love that. I really do like that. I feel there's going to be some people really liking Soldier Boy for the wrong reasons. And I'm just like, the dude had drinks of Cosby. You're not supposed to like him, so please don't. Please don't look at Soldier Boy as like, this is a tough edge Captain America. He's one step away from calling everybody a snowflake. He probably will. He's like, back in my day, men were men. We drugged women. Like, whoa, dude, let's relax, okay? We all pumped, like, amphetamines and go fought in the war. I'm like, dude, relax. You're not a real man. You're just a product of parodying a real man. I'm just like, that's insane. I respect them for doing this with Soldier Boy. Please don't emulate that or respect Soldier Boy for it. It's weird. It's not healthy. He's a bad character. You should respect Black Noir because literally the second something comes up to him, he's like, I'm just going to pretend I'm on the side of Homelander, but the moment I leave him, I'm cutting the chip out of my arm. I'm getting the F out of Dodge and no one's going to find me. Like, that's great because that's going to be a big reveal. I don't think we're going to see Black Noir this season. I think he's going to come back later. Maybe he's going to save Maeve and they're going to fight against Homelander. Because how much more could we do to actually keep the Homelander story going? I feel like we're getting close to the end of that story. And we can't really sustain that for like another season. Could we? Could we sustain that for another season? It feels like the Homelander stuff has to come to an end soon. And maybe we'll get another bigger, badder villain in here. I don't know. But it seems like we're gearing up for that end. And of course, our two characters who are the voice of reason, Starlight and Mother's Milk, kind of stepping into the spotlight to become these people. Starlight in particular, she's going to be the hero who's going to save everything. Probably Mother's Milk's going to die. I could see that happening, but cool. They blow up Herogasm. The Deep puts his thing with an octopus. Not shocking because we'd all expect that from his character. I wish they did more with that. Like, you had Love Sausage in there. Maybe show the Love Sausage doing stuff. Not just greeting MM. Come on. It's called Herogasm, buddy. Let's see some real Herogasm-y stuff. Either way, it was a good episode. Very solid. An earned ending with characters you're liking and characters who are losing themselves. Very fun. I did enjoy that a lot. I also watched a couple movies this week, and we're not going to spend too much time on Elvis. I've kind of talked to death about Elvis at this point. Solid film. Looked really interesting. Baz Luhrmann said, what if I made a biopic for nobody, but for everybody? It's crazy, because this style, I don't know if it's anybody's favorite style of story, but it worked for Elvis. Tom Hanks was doing a really weird voice that I didn't really like. It kind of became a caricature at the end. But Austin Butler, my goodness, is this boy going to be a superstar? Perfect. Just perfect casting. And I kind of talked about this in my review. My biggest problem with this film is how they shy away from the intensity of the Priscilla relationship. I get it, because she is still kind of, a victim to this whole thing. So she probably doesn't want to talk about it openly. And if she did, she is clearly groomed by him. So I get how these biopics work. We can't actually have our main character be a bad person. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody. Freddie Mercury did a lot of bad stuff, but let's make sure Rami wins the Oscar. It's like, come on. If it was honest, it would be against them, but the movie has to be for them, so whatever. Old people like it. I guess we could talk about that too. Top Gun passed $1 billion. I think it's the only film that earned this besides No Way Home. Those two films deserve this. Every other film, I don't think they earned to pass $1 billion that have, but I love this. The fact that Maverick passed $1 billion is amazing because it shows you that Tom Cruise can save cinema, baby. It's still alive and kicking. He's keeping it alive. It wasn't Christopher Nolan, with Tenet doing all this stuff. It wasn't Black Widow. It was Tom Cruise. People like Top Gun. It is not naval propaganda. It's just a story on a big boat and in big planes. That's it. And it's a really good story. It's probably my favorite film of the year, honestly. I love that it's still getting more and more people's attention because it's really good. I cannot believe it passed 1 billion. I shouldn't be surprised, though. I feel really good for everybody who's a supporting cast member in that show, because all of those young cast members, they are going to get so many more opportunities now because they were part of this. Finally, Glenn Powell is going to get that big role. I really, really want Glenn Powell to get that big role. He deserves it. He's a great actor. I want to see him succeed. Please put him in something. My goodness, make the guy Cyclops. Make him Booster Gold. Give him something, please. Put him in the Planet of the Apes reboot. Please, just give him something. Give him something. He's great. They're all great. Miles Teller had his chance. He was in Fantastic. He's fine. Watched another movie. I watched 2 movies, actually. First one, I watched Revealer, which is the new Shudder original movie. I got Shudder. Well, maybe I'll talk more about movies I watch on Shudder at the time when we talk about it. They were good. It was fine. I enjoyed it. Again, it's very campy, very 80s campy synthesizer music. It is fine. I have no issues with that. I also watched Mad God, which is the Phil Tippett stop motion movie. If you could call it a movie, it's about maybe 80 minutes in length. A puppet descends from the heavens and comes to this weird, creepy world, and suddenly he's exploring things. It's interesting. Not for everybody, but it certainly was interesting. There was a couple moments where I'm like, I don't really need to finish watching this, or I did power through it because I'm like, okay, I get the message here. I think it's just more like, look at this cool stop motion-y animatronic stuff we could do. I got it. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. If you are interested in like stop motion as an art form, I do recommend watching it, but please be warned, like it's more disturbing than Herogasm was, just in terms of like what it's doing with its like intention. It's disturbing and it's grotesque in a sense, but the good kind of grotesque, like Crimes of the Future, where you're like, oh, there's some beauty to this. Like that's the kind of grotesque it is. But it was fine either way. I don't think it was that bad. It was just, I gotcha. I think Revealer was just a little more interesting just because that script is really tight. Just seeing like those 2 women trying to like survive in this world. Well, it's falling apart and they're so different but the same, and you've seen it, but it's like, yeah, it works. And Tim Seeley gets this. Is he working on like a hack and slash movie or a series? I feel like he should, because you could definitely do something like that and get people excited. Hack and slash is fantastic, by the way. If you haven't read it, it's great. It's great. What else we got here? I watched a lot of pilots, actually. I'm trying to get caught up on some TV. Only Murders in the Building premiered the night I am recording this, or we're talking about this. I haven't watched it yet. We'll come back next week and talk a little bit about it, but I watched a couple other shows over the past week. I think they're worth mentioning a little bit. I am finally catching up on Peaky Blinders. I haven't started the 6th season yet. I watched the first 2 episodes of this season. It's just great still. Like, it's amazing that the budget and the style of this show has maintained throughout all of it, because they have done so many time jumps and stories over their 6-year career. It's amazing that it's working. They do figure out how to deal with like the Helen McRory stuff pretty early on. It did feel very naturalistic that like her story would end there. I'm not going to spoil Peaky Blinders for you, but it's like what they do with the character feels very in character for where the story was already headed. So I think that works really well. Like, this season's doing great. It is turning out, and I don't think this is a spoiler, it's turning out to be very much like a America versus Birmingham story. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's see what else you got. They go to Canada for a little bit in this season. Yes, please. Do that. Because, yeah, of course they were running, like, prohibition routes through there. Of course they were. Newfoundland was an important part of that. Like, come on. That was really cool. So Peaky Blinders this season, it's really interesting. And I haven't watched the finale yet. I think I know where it's going. I think they're going to give us a surprise ending, though, because they were still talking about a movie. So we'll see what happens. But as familiar as some of the beats are that it's playing, the stuff it's doing new is really compelling and really cool. I really dug that. I also started watching The Old Man, which is the Jeff Bridges thing. I believe he filmed this. It's either right before or right after he had his huge cancer scare. And it's just kind of like an old CIA guy, or no, he was Russian, right? Yeah, he's like a Russian ops guy who was attacked by the CIA. He defected, and now he's on the run again from somebody digging up old shit. I watched the first episode. I am going to watch more of the series. It's very fascinating. It's John Watts directing, and it looked amazing. Like the actual like visual style was very intense. I know it's not Jeff Bridges doing all of like the action beats and doing all the hardcore stuff, but wow, it actually looks really good, and it's in focus, and you're impressed with everything this geezer is doing, man. Look, geezer features are popular. Of course they were eventually going to make their way to television, and those of you who don't know what a geezer feature is, it's Taken for everybody else, you know, because Taken sort of like, I'm 60 years old, and now I'm going to do an action movie. And everybody else got their Taken, you know? Every one of those classic guys like Arnold, Stallone, Willis, they all got their things. Everyone else has been doing one. What's his name? He didn't. Mr. Nobody, was that what that movie was called? Or Nobody? Bob Odenkirk just did one. Christopher Lloyd was in that too, so he was doing one there. Everybody is doing their geezer feature. And of course, Jeff Bridges is like, I'm actually going to do something impressive. I'm going to do a limited series on FX. And it's brilliant. It looks really good. And John Lithgow's in it too. That guy could do no wrong. Every performance he does is fantastic, and I love to see it. They're just such a good pairing. They're so different, but it works so well. The old man's turning out to really impress me. And he's got dogs just doing whatever, man. It's really cool. His dog's biting people in the junk as you crash a car. A 76-year-old man's doing that. Like, come on. How could you not like that? It is sick. It is really sick. I really like this show. I think it's really fun. So I can't wait to see where that goes and how things go with that. I've also been watching slightly. I've watched the first 2 episodes of this Irma Vep, which is the remake of oh my goodness. So this is Alicia Vikander. She hasn't been doing anything really big lately. So she's like, I'm going to do this remake of a movie from like the 60s, which is about a movie from the 1915 era. And I'm like, okay. So Irma Vep is the story of this actress who is kind of like known for doing like a big thing. And she wants to do like this independent study of this movie called The Vampires or something, or like The Vampire Gang or something. And she plays the character Irma Vep, who is like the lead vampire lady that all the underlings support and love. And she's dressed like a cat burglar lady. And it's like they did that movie in like the 60s, and now they're doing the limited series today. And I think it was like originally like a French story when they did Irma Vep back in the day. I'm like, okay, Alicia Vikander is enough to sell me on checking something out. I love a good story about Hollywood jerking itself off. I've talked about that endlessly. I love seeing Hollywood just being like, look how good we are. We're going to remake a movie about remaking a movie. I'm like, yeah, do that. Do that. Please do that. I love it. And yeah, it's fine. It's just like following this actress. It's very like 2021 where she's like, I'm in practically what's a Marvel movie, and I'm like, I could do more of my career, so now I'm going to do this independent thing with a weird director who's probably going to lose money and everybody hates him because he punched a guy once, and that's kind of cool. But what really surprised me, actually there's 2 things that surprised me. It's a big budgeted, like, limited series. In the first episode, there's a continuity error that I noticed right away, where she's drinking a glass. In one scene, the next frame, she's not holding the glass. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good. Ooh, how did nobody catch that? But I did on my first viewing. The other thing about the show is, how do I put this? It's kind of about her submissive nature towards her ex-lover, where this woman that she used to date was clearly like the powerful one in the relationship and was like, essentially like the dominant one to her submissive enough. And not in terms of like abuse, just in terms of like their sexual nature and the way they are in public. And her ex is kind of like telling her what to do, like take off your coat, turn around, let's see what you're wearing in this skin tight cat suit. And I should have expected that because it's like based off a French thing. But I'm like, okay, I didn't see that coming from this show, and who am I to complain? That was one of the more like centrally beautiful, like romantic scenes I've seen recently on film. So I'm like, okay, Irma Vep is surprising me in some ways. That's kind of exciting, but it's solid so far. You've seen it a million times. I don't think it's special, but it's not bad. Seeing somebody be, dominant to Alicia Vikander, I mean, okay. You deal with some interesting themes there, and I can't complain about it. I get it. I get it. Okay. Oh, I get it. It's fun. We have fun here, okay? Don't take that the wrong way. It's really fun. It's an interesting show. Let's talk about some comic books. There's not a lot of comic books I want to talk about this week. Big week next week, kind of, I guess. Let's start with Moon Knight number 12. This wraps up Jed MacKay's first year on Moon Knight, and I think more is coming. My friends at Into the Night just did their huge, this kind of podcast where they talked to Jed MacKay about his first year, and that was really fun. So if you guys want to hear Into the Night talk about him, they talked to Jed MacKay. Really fantastic to see that. Oh, I love Jed MacKay. He's the perfect writer for this book because he gets it. He's like, no, there's some serious nature to it, but the guy has damn zombie Moon Knights, so let's put some damn zombie Moon Knights in here. Essentially, this is the final battle between Zodiac and Moon Knight, and they're going to fight each other. But Mark's like, hey, I'm going to do one last thing to surprise Zodiac. He thinks he can put me in a box where he's like, you're supposed to be dark and brooding and cut people's heads off. I know you. I read the Houston run. Look how dark you are. I'm a shit-posted Redditor talking about this stuff. I'm probably based on Moon Knight Corps for some reason. Boop-de-boop. And then he's like, hang on, Zodiac. Before you pigeonhole me into a box, buddy. Let me just surprise you with this. Every single past Moon Knight coming in here as damn corpses. We're going to attack you and mess you up, son. And that's what they do. Oh, is that cool? Again, Cappuccio's artwork, perfect. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. I am loving this book. I'm loving the way it looks, the way it feels. And Zodiac's just like, how could I have predicted there was going to be zombies? How could I predict a Moon Knight zombies shown out of a portal with a cat lady and Mark? How would I have predicted that? Soldier is dead and Reese is about to kill Zodiac when Mark's like, no, let me do it. It's what I have to do. And then he snaps into Steven. The first time we see any of the alters in this run, Steven appears to stop Mark from killing him. Okay. And I know that's going to be like the next big arc where it's like a battle on two fronts. The war of like the vampires coming to attack Mark and the battle internally between all three of the alters. Awesome. That's going to be really cool to see. But Deer also gets a great moment where he's talking to all of like the zombified versions of his fallen Moon Knights and Hunter's Moon. And he's like, look, I will join you when our father lets me join you. But until then, let me honor your legacy through the memories of my fists, baby. Oh man, Badir is so cool. I cannot believe Badir is a concept that only happened this year. Because how could nobody been like, he's called the Fist of Khonshu? Most things have two fists. I cannot believe it took him this long to do that. And I'm like, that's awesome. And it looks so cool. And it was such a fun run. It's such a cool book. Probably it is the best Moon Knight story. It is. Like this is hands down one of the best Moon Knight runs, if not the best Moon Knight run. I'm loving it. You know what else? Okay, so I did read one comic book before I came on to the show today. And I did my review. The review is out now. I had to get it out because for some reason this book does incredibly well on the channel. So I had to talk about it the day it came out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally done with Batman and Catwoman, the Tom King. Who gives a shit? I've been waiting for so long. I remember literally in December of 2020. That's when issue 1 came out of this book. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. It's kind of hard to follow and it's jumbled and it's not really well paced. But I'm like, hey, it's kind of sexy looking. You're obviously doing something with Selena that's kind of interesting. I'll give it a read. And then I read issue 2 and I'm like, oh no. No, this lost momentum very quick. And then issue 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 came out. And I'm like, oh, just end me now. But I stuck through it for you because you all liked my reviews for some reason. The finale is finally here, and does it end on such a freaking whimper. Holy crap, is this finale terrible. This is the worst Batman has been written in the run so far because he says some iconically bad lines of like, I can't believe this is because of my stupid parents and the stupid gun and those stupid pearls splattering everywhere and I'll never be happy. And then when Superman comes to his wedding, because it's the wedding issue for some reason, we'll get to that in a minute. He's like, if he starts going on about hope and justice, I'm going to pull out the just in case rock. Oh, I hate it because it makes no sense to why Batman would be this angry at anything. I don't get it. Again, Batman is written as such a cuck and it's like a simp in this book where every action is just because he's trying to please Milady when it comes to Selina, and he's not. He's just not. And then Selina does nothing to make you want to fall in love with her, but he says it in this issue. I love you, Selina, and that's why I'm going to marry you one day. And she's like, you can't put me in a box until he did. And then the moment you're out of that box because he dies, you do the things you should have done while you weren't in the box to begin with. It's just so frustrating. And it just wraps up so piss poorly where the future timeline, Selina just leaves to see Andrea because she's still alive too, and they just go to a beach. They're like, we killed the Joker. Derp-de-doo, look at what we did. We waited till Bruce was dead before we finished the story. Oh my goodness. So frustrating. So frustrating. But the icing on the cake of this frustration is the actual wedding. The wedding of Selina and Bruce happens in this issue. Do you remember a couple years back when Tom King said, guess what? Issue 50 of my Batman run, we're marrying the Cat and the Bat. It's a big deal. There's going to be like midnight parties happening at comic book retailers and comic book shops across the nation. People are going to like dress up in their favorite Batman suits to witness the issue where the Cat and the Bat get married. We're going to have actual stylists come in and design Selina's dress so we can actually like have a beautiful statue made and show you like the beauty of the Catwoman in this elegant dress. And then that issue comes out and they don't actually get married. She leaves him at the altar. But don't worry, because in the finale to this non-canonical book, he finishes up on that storyline and they get married, and this time it's Batman who doesn't seem like he wants to get married because he's pouty and angry the whole time, and they go to like the littlest chapel in Gotham City, and then they're like dressed up as like the priest is a Batman, and everyone's just like blah blah blah. I cannot believe he did that. And part of me is like, clearly these 12 issues were going to be the finale to his like actual Batman story, clearly. And then he's like, well, actually, I guess I could fudge this in with like a future story and bullshit there. And then you're just like, you did the thing you pretty much got your career to do. Because I am almost certain he got the Batman title because he said, I'm leading up to the marriage. I'm sure that's why he got it. And he doesn't do it. But now in the non-canonical book, here it is, just a really piss poor wedding sequence, and it's so frustrating and so boring and so uninteresting. And again, whenever Clay Mann is drawing Selina Kyle, there's got to be a scene where she's in her underwear or seductively trying to keep her simp together. It is so annoying. It's because it's so visibly annoying. And I get it, it's sultry, it's lustful, it's sexy, but it's not. When you do that, like 7 of the 12 issues, it no longer becomes sexy. It's more just like, we're going to use sex as a distraction for Batman so he can't Batman. I cannot believe that. It is so bad, and just, I'm glad it's done. And I'm trying to think, like, they were 6 months behind schedule because they did go bi-monthly in the second half, so yeah, what was Clayman doing in between that? Because Liam Sharp took over for like 3 issues and they looked bad, or I don't know. It's so frustrating, man. Like I only read the book because I know the views did well when I talked about it. Because I couldn't stand it. I literally couldn't stand it anymore. The book actually was driving me crazy. It was just like a steep decline of quality going down, and my goodness, did it hit hard. It really just fell flat and didn't do anything of note or interest, and I lost all care in the world about it. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. But we're done. We're done. We made it to the end. I'm not reading any more small series Batman books, no more mini-series or anything. It's just not good now. Yeah. King ruined my Batman ship. Now I read Daredevil for the Matt Electra stuff way better. Yes. I'm telling you, yes, that is true, Dr. J. Like, yeah, all this stuff going on of Matt and Electra is kind of where the Bat and the Cat stuff should have went, because that is at least interesting. they're trying something new with that. It's like, come on. This is so boring. It's just like, look at the cat and the bat. We think we're being creative. Look how much of a simp he is for her. But it's like, you're really just fundamentally destroying Bruce Wayne. But in like the Daredevil Elektra stuff, it's like, no, she learns what he is, and Elektra accepts that and starts to follow what Matt's example was. And they kind of like work together in that format. I think that's a way better story and a way better romance than what we've seen Tom King do for them. Like, I cannot believe it. Like, Tom King pretty much made like the Batman story kind of popular again. He brought it back into prominence, and he was on like talk shows talking about it and stuff. And just for it to like be a piss poor ending in issue 50 and have this be like his big send off for that story, it's bad. And again, he clearly likes Catwoman way more than he likes Batman. So just put him on the Catwoman book and then just have that really shitty Batman appear in that book. Don't lead the story with Batman as the titular character and have him appear in maybe half the pages. It's a weird choice. But I digress. Yeah, I don't really have any other books I really want to talk about. Upcoming this week, though, that, what is that? Gail Simone and Phil Noto got their variants book coming out, which is like Multiversal Jessica Jones, baby. That's going to look so good. I cannot wait to see what that book's going to be. So, yes, I will be covering all of the variants miniseries when that comes out. Department of Truth comes back this week, and I cannot wait to talk about that book again. It's very fun stuff. And also, I guess I could mention Elvira in Horrorland issue 2 came out. Really fun issue. Really fun issue. I'm not going to get too much into it, but please read that book. I really want these like Elvira series to continue more and just do more interesting stuff, because I love that character. And I've said it so many times. I want to write Elvira, I think, more than most characters. Like, if I was given the opportunity, I would instantly just like, I don't need to write Batman or Daredevil. I'm writing Elvira. I love it. So that book was really fun. Really good stuff there. So we're going to start wrapping up here. I got a couple of like things coming to the channel lately. I've devised a new system for the release schedule for a couple of the shows. So every other week, we're going to switch between the Batmaning of and movie tales. So first off, this upcoming week, we're going to be doing a big movie tales, a big galactic tales to celebrate Thor, Love and Thunder. I will be talking about the entire Thor trilogy before that. Thor 1, the original Thor. Thor 2, the Dark World Thor 2. Thor Ragnarok, the one where people started to care. But here's the thing. Here's a little spoiler for before I talk about that. I think the Thor movies go down in quality. I think it starts off high, a middling middle. You get it. Ragnarok's not something I like. So stay tuned for that coming. I'm going to say this upcoming weekend, we just did an episode of the Batmaning of, which was focused on Aquaman, which is, I love that character. I love that pitch. Please check out that video. It's doing the worst one for some reason, which I don't understand. Like the Teen Titans one did better. I guess the Teen Titans one did better too. I get that. So please check that out. And we got Superman and Lois, the final episode, coming out tonight. Review will be up tomorrow. Same with Miss Marvel. And after that, I'm going to fill the void, not the void, but the hole that Superman and Lois will leave behind for a weekly review with something else. So I have a couple ideas in mind for shows. I'm going to do She-Hulk when it comes out. I'm still thinking of doing Sandman when that comes out, but those are both in August. So for July, I'm thinking I'm going to do this. And if anybody has any suggestions for a show you'd like to see me talk about in July, please let me know. But I think I'm going to talk about The Rehearsal. I know absolutely nothing about The Rehearsal aside from Nathan Fielder is working on it. And that excites me because I really liked Nathan For You. It is probably one of the smartest and most original comedies to come out in a long time. I've said this before. I really think Nathan For You and Drunk History are two of the best concepts a show has ever been given that nobody was watching for some reason. They are brilliant shows. And now he's doing another show for HBO Max where it looks like he's going to be with like a weird fake family preparing for something. I cannot wait to see what that is. So I'll be talking about that probably to fill that Superman and Lois void. But yeah, we got 3 more episodes of Miss Marvel to talk about, 1 more of Superman and Lois, and 2 more Strange New Worlds. So eventually we're going to run out of stuff to talk about. But there's always going to be more things down the pipeline. Minions, The Rise of Gru is this week. Am I going to talk about it? Maybe. If I go see it, I'll probably will. There's a couple of independent films I want to go try to sneak away and see this weekend. That Brian and Charles one looks really funny, and if I can find a theater near me playing it, I might go see that. But It is Canada Day here in Canada coming up on Friday. Thinking I might do something for Canada Day. We'll see. But if nothing comes to this channel for Canada Day, go to my TikTok. I'll be doing some Canada Day stuff there. So that is going to do it for this episode of Live from the Geek Beach. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Enjoy the view from the Geek Beach.